Hi, I'm G, this is my art channel, and this is my 2017 sketchbook flip through. So I kick off my new sketchbook with just a random postcard, some arty postcard I've had hanging around for ages, so I just decided to stick that in as a bit of inspiration. And then I started this sketch back in November 2016. So at that point I was doing my exhibition of kind of flower artwork and stuff at a local gallery. And while I was there, what I used to do was sit with a small stool and some ink pens, and I would just get on with doing some drawings while I was there. And this is the first Lamy fountain pen ink drawing that I did while I was actually sat in the exhibition. Over here is a little bit of pigment marker kind of like experimentation, because I was doing a picture of a sunflower also while I was there. And then these two pages show a couple of ideas for both color schemes and also some graffiti writing, a graffiti project that I want to put together at some point as a gift to somebody. And I just haven't had the chance to get it all done yet. So you can see all of the lettering ideas and all of the different bits and bobs that I got going on, different inking styles. Then a sort of first pass at what it might look like. And then a blank page where the actual finished piece was supposed to go. And I haven't got around to it yet. The next thing I was asked to do was a sort of board for the playgroup that my daughter was at. And it was like letter of the week, number of the week. So this page shows some of my ideas on how to space everything out on the piece of board that I was going to get given, so it would all fit and it would all come together. And that was a slightly different piece of work. So it was done on board using enamel paints, because it was supposed to be put outside to be sort of exhibited outside. But it was a lot of fun to do and very different to the kind of stuff I'd normally do. Over here is some Moana inspired bits and pieces, looking at the lettering, looking at the different backgrounds and so on, and also the Heart of Tafiti, which I have an idea to do something with at some point, which has been hanging around for a year, so I really need to get motoring on that one. Then these are some ideas to do with some wedding calligraphy, wedding card calligraphy. I was asked by an ex-pupil of mine if I would do some wedding cards, you know, name cards to go on the tables and so on. And this is what I came up with. And this is just me trying different bits of calligraphy, using the calligraphy pens, sorry, and trying to get them, you know, working for me kind of thing. This is an idea based on a Native American book that my wife gave me last Christmas, and it's sort of all Native American stories, myths and legends, and some of the ideas in it inspired this kind of bear creature which is rising up from these sort of leaves, you know, dropped leaves, autumn leaves and so on. I need to revisit this one and do a better job with it, so it's just a sort of like idea at the moment. Then a little sketch that I came across of me just doing the moon in Wet into Wet when I was still teaching. And these are some ideas that I got from my daughter's fairies, Tinkerbell fairy stuff. And the stickers had some very, really cool kind of like symbolism on them to do with trees. So then because it was around January, I thought, can I do something to do with Valentine's Day with those? So, you know, I was looking into maybe using this kind of technique, this blocky kind of technique with the white lines to do some kind of, you know, kind of Valentine heart type stuff. There's some of the ideas for the wedding name card, so you can see how I've actually written it in 3 different ways and then added the white kind of gel pen to try and give it a little bit of light hitting one side, give it a bit of a 3D kind of feel. Here you can see another illustration inspired by the Native American myths and legends that I got. And what does that say there? Ghost of the White Deer, Chickasaw idea, or a myth or legend. And again, the idea is there, but I need to find time to develop it further. Here's just an image that I found on Instagram that I liked, really, really cool feather idea with the kind of shading. So just thought I'll jump in with my daughter's really, really cheap pencils and have a go at that. So turning over, these are more reference ideas. So this is a guy that I follow on Instagram called Eric Canete, and he does some amazing stuff, really terrific style. And I'll put links to all of the people that I talk about that I follow in the description below. So if you want to follow any of them too, you can look it up there. There's a little bit of work from Mary Doodles, and I really love this kind of overlapping shape background. So I had to go at doing that with Copic markers in various different grays. This is the crow bird from Sleeping Beauty, and then over here a little bit of reference I'd just taken at a local aquarium, and this is like fishes and so on that I then thought I'd do with fine liner and Copic marker. That's one of my videos last year for how to do large areas using a pro marker. Again, I'll put the link to that below if you're interested. And also some more aquarium shots here using the Copic markers, really getting to grips with them because they're a little bit different to pro markers. And here you've got a little bit of graffiti seen on one of Doke TV's video, or you find him on YouTube, you find him on Instagram. And I just spotted that in one of the videos and thought that'd be kind of cool to draw, like the shading effects. Over here, more reference stuff. This is a flower from a shop we have in Britain called Fat Face, and they have this really cool decorations inside, so I just took a quick click of it and then get home, do a drawing. Again, more reference images from outdoor kind of signs. This one I saw in the back of somebody's truck, like a stencil on the back window, so I thought that's really cool. Take a quick photo and then do an image when I got home. And that's just some bits and bobs off the back of my daughter's innocent juice smoothie kind of thing. I just like the stylized way that the pictures look. Over here we've got, again, more reference pictures. So the first one is by an artist called Art Germ, Stanley Lau, and he'd done a version of one of the people from Overwatch. I'm sorry, I've never played it, so I don't know her name, but it was an awesome picture, so I thought I'll have a go at that using Copics and also some pro markers for the colors. And then over here you've just got some images from DeviantArt, or somebody that I just followed that I just did a screen grab and just thought I'll have a go at doing their hair in that way. So flipping over, more reference, little bits of doodles, like the kind of stuff that you do when you're on the phone, some little bits and bobs with brush pen. Again, another reference pic of some hands by Mahmoud Asrar, who does a lot of comic book stuff for Marvel and X-Men at the moment. So I just like the kind of like that kind of Doctor Strange magic glow around the hand. So I thought I'll take a sort of like version of that, and then maybe that can help me when I need to do something like that. Again, another image from DeviantArt DA, and I just thought a really cool kind of shading effect on these axes, so I thought I'll have a look at that. And again, hopefully that'll help me when I come to draw some stuff. I can maybe look at the shading effect and look at some of the ideas here and bolt them on and use them in my work. Another piece of work here, another ink work. This is by Ian Gibson, an ink artist and comic book artist I was really influenced by growing up. Absolutely loved his stuff, and this is one of his characters, Robo Hunter, and that's done completely with the brush pen. Then flipping over, a few more Moana mucking about ideas. That's a pretty terrible version of Tamatoa, so we'll just move on from there. Some packaging from a cardboard box that had this really lovely kind of like decorative kind of view on it. So I thought, oh yeah, I'll get that and I'll just sort of take a photo and then draw it later on. Over here, some animal ideas for a sort of inspired by the Native American book that I got for Christmas. I wanted to do something like a sort of Native American trinity. So the animals that were me, my wife and my daughter's kind of like animal kind of totems, I thought I might do a sort of trinity effect using them. And those are the three animals, the owl, otter, and I think it was a salmon. Haven't got around to it, but I still want to do that at some point. Another artist I follow, Glenn Arthur Art, and I just stuck this piece in because I didn't have time to draw it, but I liked the framing effect and the different colored paper in the background, so I thought that'd be pretty cool. Little bits of drawing and doodles that I do when I'm with my daughter. You've got to use wax crayons and stuff because that's all you've got to hand. Then over here, a few more doodly bits and bobs, just flower inspired doodles. Wooden sculpture, that's my attempt at doing some Copic and white pencil work on a tan background paper, and that was a lot of fun, really enjoyed doing that one. Same for this one over here, but not with any white pencil, just different shades of grey. Business card illustrations that I've picked up over the years that I thought were really cool. This kind of origami chameleon I thought was absolutely brilliant idea. And then again, this picture that somebody done of Okami and that very stylized way of doing the clouds and smoke. I thought, yeah, I'll have a little look at that because I might use that kind of effect at some later date. Flipping over the page, just got a couple of pictures, Jim Lee's process. So Jim Lee, the comic book artist, showing you, what it looks like before you start slapping tons of ink on it with a Kleenex. And also another one of my favorite artists, Jean Girard, or Mobius, some of you may know him as, and he did Blueberry, and this was one of his just quick sketches that I thought I'd do with Biro, and this is pigment marker, done for the sort of like tonal area, so I really enjoyed that one. Over here, really love this tag from O'Neill, stick that in the book, do an image of it, haven't done the white splatter yet, but really like the kind of really contrasty image of the surfer Jack O'Neill. Almost looks like a pirate with a sort of eye patch on there. And then over here we got some ink and shiny effects. That's what I'm doing this for. This is more reference from Todd Nork, who I also follow on Instagram, and he's got this really cool shiny effect. So I think, right, I'll do that in the book and then hopefully I'll be better at shiny effects. And down here, the same from Tom Hodges, but instead of doing it in ink, I'm doing it with marker pen down here instead. So flipping over again, this is my experimentation using Inktext blocks. Used to need to use Inktense a bit more because they seem like kind of fun. This is an artist I follow called Able Art on Instagram, and just really love the hair on this one. So that was my reason for doing this as a reference image. You know, the kind of like the depth that he's got from just 2 or 3 colors and the brightness. So I thought that's really cool. You know, so I'll get a reference to that and then hopefully use that later date. Another more intricate version of those Disney Tinkerbell fairy stickers that my daughter has in her books. I just thought it was really good. The twist of the branches and the trunk there and this kind of stylized way of doing the foliage. So that's really cool. That's just a little bit of doodling I did when I should have been listening in a meeting. And this one, my daughter just stuck these stickers on my jumper, and I thought that looks kind of cool, like a sort of statue or something. So I took a photo of it, did a breakdown of it in just line, and then did a sort of version of it with just like fine line pens, just mucking about. Might do something with that again some other time. That's a logo off a shop that used to be in Shrewsbury where we're living. Again, a little bit of very angular ink drawing sort of reference here. This is just a sketch from a Nintendo magazine. Over here we've got, you might recognize him from Frozen, Marshmallow, or Icy Man as we call him. These are his hands and his feet, and I really like the kind of icy color and effect that the person that had drawn this in the book had gotten. So I just thought, right, I'll do a study of that, might use that at some later stage. Here's just a stained glass design from a Cloak and Dagger comic from way back in the 80s, done by Rick Leonardi, who's another comic book artist that I really admire. Looking at the Magical Armor from Kubo and the Two Strings, excellent movie. If you haven't watched it, check it out. And also contemplating doing my daughter's kind of Superman logo, but with her A for Amelia. So, you know, it's just me mucking about, doing some bits and bobs. Another bit of reference from Instagram, Eddie Nunez Art just does some amazing stylized comic book artists on there. So just thought I'd do that again, trying it out on a different color background so I can make full use of Posca whites and Jelly Roll whites. Same over here for Will Weston Studio, another artist I follow. I just thought that skull was terrific, really strong contrasts. And I think that's supposed to be a thistle inspired by the kind of Scotland rugby logo. So I don't know what's going on there. That's the helmet for Kubo, the magical helmet that I haven't yet coloured like I've done the armour and the sword. And this was some reference sketches for the dandelion jellyfish picture that I did, the fantasy picture. But I did some real studies first of all of just like dandelion heads without all of the kind of spores on top. And then over here I was just looking at a nice typeface that I might use later on. So I thought stick it in Sketchbook, quick, don't lose it. And also looking over here, I think it's a fennel that I've got for an idea at some point, so just sketch it out, no color yet. That was the cherry tomatoes. Again, there's videos for that, and I'll post the links below of real-time video of me trying to paint this in an expressive watercolor style. And talking of expressive watercolor, over here is the stone sheep, again, that I did a video of last year, and I did that straight into the sketch pad. Over here, really love this watermelon picture carved with a face, and I thought, right, I'll just do a quick sketch of that using grey Copic markers in, just trying to get my experience with Copic markers up a little bit. And over here, I was sort of being asked if I could do a sign that said peg numbers. So I thought what I might do is hand paint it in terms of peg being made up of actual pegs. So the E here you can see is made up of all of those different pegs and different pegs that you would hang out washing with. Terrific piece of artwork, Stuart Immonen, and I just had to do a copy of this because just of all the different shades of kind of orangey reds that Cyclops, one of my favorite X-Men, is firing out of his kind of eye beam. So Stuart Immonen, definitely an artist to look up. This is a sculpture from Telford Town Park, and again I just thought I would have a go at doing this using Copic markers, trying to get all those different shades of grey out of the markers, and that was done on a train. So flicking over, again, testing myself with some different coloured paper and drawing straight onto it with a jelly roll. No pencil drawing at all, just straight on. So trying to sketch out the shapes quickly and then add some sort of solid tone. So showing the highlights rather than the shadows. So I had to leave the shadows. And that's one of the really good tests about working on a darker coloured paper. You tend to have to show the highlights instead of the shadows, which is kind of different, opposite to the way you used to work in. Just some notes that I wrote when I saw a John Singer Sargent watercolor exhibition in London. Don't get enough time to see most of those exhibitions. And again, this is a reference piece. Loved the crazy hair on this one. It's from somebody who was drawing this in DC Comics. No idea who the artist was. Don't really know who the character was, but just the hair was just intense. So I just thought, right, I've got to do a reference shot of that. These are the sketches I did for my dandelion jellyfish. You saw the real reference images earlier. This is the kind of idea that grew from those sketches. So the idea of it sort of being a sort of glowing deep sea jellyfish, but sort of inspired by the dandelion with these stalky bits hanging down and this big stalk through the center. So it was a plucked dandelion jellyfish that was sort of moving around the ocean. So I'm just messing around here with effects like the bubbles and different colors in between the tentacles and so on. And this was an abortive first attempt where I tried using bleed-proof paper and it bled. And there's an idea for a sort of bookmarky kind of idea that I might do at some point, probably in watercolors though. I watched that terrific movie Song of the Sea. If you haven't seen it, do watch it. It's awesome, and it's just got amazing visual style, and I was just inspired straight away to sort of, you know, do some freeze frames on the DVD, take some photos, and then do some drawings of it. And I, you know, want to use this kind of style in some work later on, maybe this year. That's just a sketch of a carp done with a 4B pencil. Some ideas for stained glass coming from, yeah, you guessed it, Beauty and the Beast. So just some sketches there. Well, I'll add color to at some point, and I'm thinking of doing a picture in that style. Then you've got some more doodly kind of ideas and all of my pencil ideas for Inktober, because as October came around, I thought I'd really have a go at doing the Inktober this year, and I did manage all 31 days. So those were some of my pencil ideas for each theme, first of all. And then you've got the kind of like actual pieces that I did. So each one is inspired by a theme. So this one is Swift, this one is Divided, this one is Poison and Underwater, and so on. So for each of the themes, I tried to interpret something that was a little bit different. Again, I started with pencil sketches and pencil ideas first of all, lots of little pencil thumbnails, and then sort of worked those up to be some more successful than other kind of ink drawings for the whole of Inktober. If you haven't ever taken part, it's worth having a go next year, but it is quite a commitment, and 31 days was quite a lot to do a sketch every single day, especially the quality that I wanted to do them of. Trying to be a bit experimental with running ink, you know, a little bit deep with some of them, a little bit more frivolous with some of them. And I'm not going into too much detail with the Inktober sketches, because what I'll probably do, because my Inktober sketches finish halfway through this sketchbook and I finished, I was going to do a separate video which was going to be an Inktober video talking about all of the sketches that I did for that, and you know, my sort of like do's and don'ts for Inktober next year. So there's just a few little bits and pieces in the back, just a few little sketches and muckabouts and some pigment marker swatches, and that is my 2016, vandalized by my daughter, sketchbook finished. Thank you for watching my sketchbook flip through, and if you enjoyed watching that one, you might want to check out last year's 2016 one, and I'll put a link for that below, and also one of my old sketchbooks from way back when I was in school, link below for that one as well. And if you enjoyed this video, then please don't forget to like, share or subscribe.